meeting.
Good evening to folks. The start of the Christmas season is upon us. 7 o'clock, I would like to call to order the Tilton Budget Committee of December 17, 2014. With the permission of the committee, I would delay the reading of the minutes until we get done with the presentations from tonight. Are there any qualms about doing that? I would also recommend to the board that the department heads come up, do their presentations. We ask them the questions that we need to ask them. And then when we're completed with them, we can invite them to stay, or they can leave at that point in time throughout that period. Okay? Are there any questions or qualms about that? Pat?
I think that because it's a selectmen's budget, if you just take a look at it under the individual departments, and if you have any questions, then, just yell out the questions and we'll try to answer them as best we can. Do you want a full presentation from each department head?
The only concern is we just got the budget,
Yep.
so we don't know what has been changed from last year, if there's any significant changes in that budget, and anything that we should look for. Okay?
Yeah.
So, you want to start with Denny? Rhodes, Denny and Arthur, Demas and Pat. Okay. Are there any significant changes in the budget from last year to this year? Or is there anything that we should be aware of as we're going through the budget? Denny?
I think most of it is comparable or below last year, except for a couple items. I can explain those items if you'd like, and why the increase.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay? If you go to page 10, under the last two digits, it's sanitation recycling, 860. Last year I budgeted $7,200. This year I want to increase that to $9,000. And sanitation demolition materials, 864. I went from 7,000 budgeted to 10,000. And the reasoning behind that is, as you all know, we have a spring and we have a fall amnesty week at the highway department. In the spring amnesty week, we spent about $3,400 through the materials that we had collected during amnesty, and in November, it was $7,000. So we had about a $10,000 item between the two amnesties, okay? And it has increased considerably. The remaining $9,000, okay, is roughly for the materials that I collect during the summer months, disposal of the materials, and the trucking cost. I think going down through it, you'll see that the budget is down from last year. Last year's was $1,044,940, and this year it's $986,381. Percentage-wise, I can't tell you what that is, but it's 3-4%.
Okay. Questions from the board? Or excuse me, not the board, the committee. Yeah.
Just starting to go through it. Your part-time wages, you're going up about $8,000, but yet this year you spent less than last year.
Right. This year, okay, we're going to be having, we've got a full-time snowplow person. We're going to have another person coming in January 1st. 40 hours plus overtime, do the snow plowing. That's what consists of that, plus we have an individual out right now due to an illness, which I does another part-time person. They're all three part-time seasonal people for the winter months only.
Salt and sand budget, just about the same? Went up a little bit
It did because there's a $5 increase per ton. in
on the
salt.
price. Okay. Good. The budget you have in front of you now, is it a workable budget for the Department of Highways for the next fiscal year?
Yes. There's only one exception, and I got the clarification from the Board of Selectmen is on the overtime hours.
Okay.
That's the only thing that I'm a little bit concerned with, okay? And if that particular line item was totally expended, and we still had 4 or 5 weeks left in the winter, okay, that money could be an emergency fund, come out of an emergency fund to offset whatever I need.
Okay.
So, yes, I would say so, and I'm set, yes.
Okay. In regards to overtime, if there was a buffer to be built into that overtime line item, how much wouldn't it be needed? Approximately, nothing,
They originally asked for 39.2.
39.2?
We went to 3,100,
Okay.
31,000, I'm sorry.
So originally it was 39.2, reduced to 31. Okay, good.
So he's missing about
8,000.
7,800, 8,000.
Okay, good. Jane, question? John,
No, I'm,
this is quiet up here today. Jules,
Not right now, no.
are there any outstanding warrant articles that you can see happening in regards to town roads this time around?
We usually put in 2 warrant articles. One warrant article for $35,000 for equipment replacement on a yearly basis, we do that. That's put in the capital reserve fund for equipment replacement. And we put in $60,000 into the capital reserve fund for roads and bridge construction.
Okay, good. Are there any projects in the works for the fiscal year 15?
In my 10-year plan, I think there's 3 roads, don't hold me to the names.
No,
Okay, but there's 3 roads that we're gonna be doing,
Okay, good.
plus some sidewalks.
And sidewalks?
Yes.
Okay, good. Pat, questions? Catherine, question? This is so quiet tonight. All right. Any
we
feedback?
just spent a couple hours working on it, so
Yeah, we just
we
spent-
don't have much to say.
All right, anything you'd like to add?
I had another question.
Okay.
You said that you have an employee out for illness. Is that person being paid?
He is on short-term disability.
So we're not paying his salary?
No.
How long, I mean, is he gonna be back?
He'll be back,
I'm just curious why the wages have gone up if we're gonna have someone out and we're not paying them.
well, these two in part-time wages, okay, for the sidewalk machine person.
Yep.
and
Which we've had in the
also-
past, haven't we?
What?
Have we had that in the past?
You have.
Okay.
If you look back, you got, last year there was 10,800 appropriated for that. In 2014 budget. This year I'm asking for 18,600, which is, what, $7,800 more than
Yeah.
last year? That's for the individual that's going to be starting January 1st
And he'll only be until
And he'll only be until
end of snow season?
end of snow season, that's
Okay.
correct.
So he comes out of and that's a new part-time position?
That's a new part-time position.
I got you.
because, I don't know if you know, but I'm going to be retiring in September,
I have heard that rumor.
and I'm going on 32 hours being request
Of this year?
of this year.
Okay.
So he's going to be taking over the position of the snow plowing that I do at nights and after 3:30.
That is reflected also in the budget, wage-wise, so that's already factored in.
Good. Any other information that you have for us, Jim, that would be advantageous for us to look at through this budget?
Pertaining to the Public Works, or
Anything that comes from that part of the budget?
no, not from Public Works.
Not from Public Works, okay. Good. Further questions from either the Board of Selectmen or the Budget Committee for Highway? Hearing none, Danny and I, you're welcome to stay, or you're welcome to go enjoy the evening.
Oh, we'd like to stay a little bit.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Pat, who's next?
But I would say he was going to
Go for it, sir.
If you look at our, it's broken up into 2 pages. So the top page reflects all the salary, wages, Medicare, FICA, retirement. A lot of that stuff was loaded in on whatever the increases were outside the state, that's the retirement, and then also wages by the contract. The only minor change on that first page operationally was we strengthened that a little bit. We're doing more items, more things on Google now, some more web-based stuff. We're trying to get away from printing as many documents as we used to fill in. So we set that as kind of a benchmark to come down a little bit. On the second page, building maintenance and building improvements, we did go over this year, but that was, we had the air conditioning unit, I don't know if you remember that one, back in the summertime. So we had to pull the 2 lines together to cover the total cost. So we're into a new system, that was the original one with the building. So building improvements, the only thing I'm looking to do next year is replacing the carpet in the admin assistant area. And I already got a quote on that at $2,200, so I haven't put enough in the air to make sure I cover that. I try to, like your house, I try to pick one project a year to chip away at. So that was my project this year. And on uniforms, we added in 3 vests for next year. It's just, we're into a good vest replacement cycle now, and so I want to make sure those are new uniforms. So that reflects a slight increase in uniforms. Photo supplies, everything's digital nowadays. This line actually goes back to when we had 35 millimeter, which we don't use, so we kind of moved that into investigative. It was such a small line. And then going down to weapon expense, I had to add a little bit more for ammunition. There's a little bit of an increase there, about $500 just to cover the increase on handgun and rifle ammo. And then moving down, the next changes in equipment purchase. We purchased $1,000 in there to cover striping the vehicle, and we met earlier, and we've opted to lease a vehicle and take that out of specialty lease so that we can keep the bottom line down. And we have a 5-year average and feels a little bit of cover the lease. And so we can expand on that more if you need that. And then lastly, legal. Obviously, we know with this year, stuff come up last year, so we try to put enough in there to foresee anything that might come up, but not raise it too much. So really, other than a few minor changes, all the operational stuff, I tried to leave it the same, because,
Great. Good. Jules, questions?
No, just A little curious if you could give us some information about the legal expense line, since I'm new.
Some of the legal expense last year was the new contract, and there were a couple of legal incidences that we actually had to go out and get legal, and there was actually legal fees.
Right. If something happens within the police department, they have their own legal budget that takes care of a situation, whether it's a personnel matter or a complaint that goes to court or any kind of litigation.
Sure.
So that's
Yeah.
handled outside of the town administration. It's handled within them, so they get charged for it.
So it completely varies greatly from
Yes.
year to year?
Hope it's zero, but
Yeah, okay, that's it.
Last year they had very much.
Contract negotiations usually runs about, what, Joyce, did we say 18,000?
Oh, not that much.
No,
Maybe about 10 to 12.
10 to 12,000
Right.
every 3 years.
And if there's a personnel matter, let's say that the chief has suspended someone, they have the opportunity for due process, they have a right to go through the court system, the chief then defends out of his budget that action. Doesn't go back to the town for that litigation.
So they can't be a part of the local government center's pool of insurance thing?
It depends on the case, if it's like a grievance, LGC would not pay for that.
Okay.
If it was, anything specific to one officer, is not covered by the risk management pool in Concord, then I would have to take it out of my budget.
Okay.
It's going to depend on the situation, if it's covered or not.
Okay, thanks.
John?
no, been through this.
Jane? Computers. Tim or the chief, where do we stand with the computers? I know that there's been a lot of,
At the PD or?
at the PD, just the PD system, okay? I only want to know, are we farther advanced than we were last year, or are we just holding our own at this point in time?
I would say we're significantly ahead of where we were last year. We did a new server install, and which dramatically has improved reliability and performance, and migrated two other servers onto it in virtualized environments, one of which is used as a terminal server for remote desktop for the cruisers and the school resource officer, and the other is the application, the primary application server. So one of those servers that we were migrating off of, the support ends in June of 2015, so it was a good time to do that. Plus, we were having some issues with them that were requiring a lot of hand-holding on both those. So that was a major undertaking, and that was just recently. And at the same time, we replaced many systems over there to be able to improve performance and provide better reliability and consistency throughout the building, where we had systems that were very old and came from a variety of places and didn't have necessarily any kind of support structure for those, and we had several fail. One with a big spark and puff of smoke coming out of it even. And that there were probably about 6 of those that were of the same year and vintage, and I think every one of those got replaced during the course of the year. Mostly with refurbished enterprise systems that were off lease. So get it in the most economical way possible. We improved security at the same time, closed some loopholes, removed another server that was potentially causing some security issues. And so we've simplified the environment. We brought the primary infrastructure up into more current status. There's still some things to do, but I'd say, to answer your question without taking too much time, significantly improved over last year.
2 caveats to that. There were major projects that were started this year I think 911 was one of them. The data collection for 911?
Well, Jimmy,
Was it?
Oh,
Spots,
the
IMC?
Spots VPN?
Yes.
Yes, that we also accomplished that. The state used to charge us quarterly for a fractional T1 line for a separate network that had the state police terminals. And we migrated, we were required to buy a new firewall that would meet the state standard.
Okay.
We did that, we installed it, and we're now running everything off of the same network connection, and that's through a VPN service. And in fact, when we get to the IT portion, we're going to be the state's doing something like that for motor vehicles as well here. So,
good.
this coming year.
So what are the next step for the fiscal year 15? What are they going to be for improvement to the system that now exists?
At the PD?
Yes, at the PD. If that's, without,
He has that all in his IT.
then I'll hold to that. Okay, I'm
He can give it all, because all the computers is town hall, PD, and highway. He has them all together, but he can give it to us.
right. The only reason I'm asking is we're taking a look at this budget.
Yeah.
We're taking a look at what's going to need to be replaced or advanced within the budget itself. So as I'm going through that, I need to be able to separate town administration from police, and part of that is I need to have a clear vision of where we're going next in regards to the next part of the system and where that will bring us down the road, because everything should be advancing, so I can wait.
I guess what I'm saying is that if we're looking at the PD for the line items, computers aren't here, and that's the bottom line of the $2,029, the computers aren't here, it's in Tim's budget.
So the computers are now taken away from
Right.
the PD department.
Right, they're in IT, and he's got the IT.
That's where my
Separate department.
Right, and that's where my confusion, because the last budgets, that was all included within the PD budget.
But then within the last year or two, we changed that to make it last year.
Last year.
Yeah,
So as I'm looking at the budget, I will need to separate
right.
those two. And I would hope the committee also will be taking a look at that. Eric?
I remember that the tasers were a hot button issue with the Board of Selectmen. And is that, I know there was a $250 plan per taser. Is that included in this budget, and where?
It is.
What?
Maintenance, right, it's a replacement plan, 5 years. At the end of the 5-year, we give them
But the way that you guys paid for that was you took money out of salaries.
yes, we have an officer that wasn't, we have 2 officers that didn't utilize all of their salary, that were out.
So isn't part of our job to save money where we can? And so do we have any other officers that are out for an extended period of time where that might affect the salaries, lessen the salaries so that,
I hope not.
Yeah, it's-
No, I just remember that the reason you were able to do that last year was
was because we had one out and
you had that salary,
that everybody's here.
so we're fully staffed, and according to the notes, we've added a supervisor. So, are we top-heavy, or are we?
No, actually, we just don't have a supervisor on each shift. And we actually don't have any more now than they did.
We have a chief, a captain, and we have corporals.
Okay. And is a corporal assigned to each shift?
Corporals on each shift, that's the
Okay.
supervisor.
And captain and yourself are on call?
And the corporals go on call as well, they do.
They're on call also? Is that a rotation?
No, actually, the captain and I are both on call for anything.
Okay.
If it might go away, then he knows it's covering anything that I would pick up as well.
Okay.
But we both get notified on things.
Okay, good. Anything else, sir?
No, good for now.
Cruiser replacement. We replaced one this year? What are we looking to replace fiscal year 15?
Just one vehicle in 15, and that would be a lease. And that's what we're gonna,
Take out of the detail.
we're gonna take out of the detail fund.
Okay. Now, and this is either for the chief or John, you were talking about getting a revised 5-year replacement plan. Has that occurred?
Yes, it's, we discussed it earlier tonight, and right now the plan is going into leasing, and so each year replacing it, the maximum they'll end up with 3 years, so 3 vehicles that are on the lease.
Okay.
It comes out economically better. We discussed that in detail, including warranties and everything else on it. And the first year, it's going to come out of the detail fund. Next year, it's going to be coming out of the operating fund. And then third year is both.
You're operating,
Then back to the.
And then,
Okay. Is there...
and then the lease is up, so.
Okay, good. Is there going to be something in writing in regards to that policy so that we can have something to memorialize
Yeah.
that? So as we're sitting down, not
know
this
what
year,
to
but
expect.
next year, we can expect to know what's going on. So if that's, because that's where we had problems the other time around. There were a couple policies, and we were trying to differentiate between the two. So if we could get that, something in that kind, in a written form, it'd be very helpful. Okay? Chief?
Just one thing on that too, Wayne, is moving forward, we've got to replace those mobiles now because the old one's falling. So someone, we need mobile, because they, Motorola is discontinuing the parts for those older mobiles. And so if one broke, I think it's after January, first week of January, if one broke, they've already said we can't get parts for it anymore. So, you know, and that's, I think that's good because moving forward, we won't have to worry about that anymore.
I have another question. I saw in the notes under IT, body cameras. How much, is that something that how are we getting those? Are they expensive? Are they?
We're actually getting the cameras essentially provided for free. It's all bundled together in a plan, but we're getting 12 cameras, and in fact, in some jurisdictions, some agencies actually use the body cameras as their cruiser video as well. So there may be an opportunity down the road. This would be something the chief feels is suitable for that. It's a combination of things. The body cameras and then charging station, which also does the upload. And as it's taking the video off of there, there's a whole chain of evidence that it's preserving. And there's a hosted site that captures all this evidence. It can be tagged with meta tags so that it can be attributed to a particular case or a person or accident, tagged with different things. It can be run through the entire police process. They have control over if a defense attorney needs something for discovery or it's sent to the prosecutor. It controls the entire chain of evidence of that particular video. So it's not just the body camera itself, but it's also what happens when you get something on the body, on the camera. Now what happens? So it's managing that entire thing from the incident, whatever it is, all the way through the end. So that's 12 cameras, that's the charging station, and then the services to provide that hosted system with different levels of authority to access.
Is there going to be, is that, I don't know if the right word, encumbering us in future for X amount of dollars per year? I mean, it's nice to get all these fancy things sometimes, but, are we going to be obligated now for, $5,000 a year for the, X?
Not quite that much, but it's a 5-year contract, and
It's part of what again?
it's a 5-year contract.
Yeah.
And it's appreciably less expensive than a solution where you would purchase them outright and then have to manage your evidence yourself. But I don't know if you want to add something, Chief.
Yeah, there's a solution we looked at several, and obviously you can kind of go up by cameras anywhere. What I found out, the more homework I did on this, is the bigger part of the camera It's the solution behind it that manages the evidence, the chain of custody, all of that. And departments have found out you would essentially have to hire a full-time person just to do that, to answer all the requests for discovery, to edit, to fix-late people that don't want to be in it, to get it out to the defense attorneys, to store it, to catalog it. It does all that for you. So the minute they come into the station and put in that charger, it uploads, not even the officer can tamper with it. It goes right into a server, it's cloud stored, and then it's a permission-based system on who can go in, who can authorize release of it, all of that. And they said that's so much more important than just the camera itself.
Right.
So departments get tempted, well, I can go buy a camera for $800. But that video isn't going to be managed the way it is in the system. So you don't have to worry about it getting lost. You don't have to worry about it ending up on YouTube. It's going to go right into a secure server and then permission-based from there out. And they said that will save literally thousands of hours a year of someone's time to catalog every piece of video for every contact for every officer all year.
But now, is the, like the tasers, you get, I think it was $250 a year towards the replacement cost of a taser. Is there something built into this, or in 5 years, we're going to be looking at, $15,000, $20,000 to replace these
It
cameras?
happens to be, the program is through Taser International. They also manufacture body cameras, so it's a very similar program to the weapon tasers.
So we're putting a little in the bank every year to replace these at some point in 5 years.
And I guess that would, let me do a couple supplemental questions to your line of questions. One is, this will be carried under the IT budget,
It is.
not under the police budget. So if we're looking for it, we'll be looking under IT. Are there any supplemental costs to this program? Maintenance, if they need to be replaced, is that picked up by the contract? Or do we have to pick it up? What happens after the 5 years, though, when the contract is no longer in existence? Do we then pick up the cost for maintenance?
We would probably be, because the majority of this, I believe their business model is such that they give away the razor blades to have, you buy the razors. I'm sorry. They give away the razors to have you buy the razor blades. So what their real model is the host subscripted evidence.com, which is where this evidence is hosted and stored. The costs of the body cameras themselves are obviously, if you were to look at the quote, a much minor component, because they seem to be more interested in the services aspect of it. So I would imagine that at the end of 5 years, and obviously, prices are going to change. They use a combination of Amazon S3 services. Cloud storage is very inexpensive, and it's coming down. What you're paying for is their whole application that's running in the cloud. So I would think after 5 years that they would want to continue to have people subscribe and continue to use that.
So the contract itself, although that the hardware is part of it, is mostly the protection, the security, and the stuff that's being stored. At the end of 5 years, you then have to have another contract for them to provide that services for another period of time, correct?
Right.
Now, if we choose at 5 years not to go with that company, does that become property of the town of Tilton, all those data from the camera, and do we have the capacity to store that
Yes.
within our systems?
Yes and yes, yes. It's first of all, it's always the property of the town of Tilton. And yes, we have the capability of either storing it on a local service or by using another service like evidence.com.
Okay. Is there an average life on the body cameras?
I'm not aware of that. They replace them if they're broken, damaged.
Anything mechanical, electronics will certainly, over time, just wear out. So, I'm just wondering what the average life would be of the cameras. Hopefully it's 5 years, because this is what they're going to give you the contract for, at least.
I know that they've been in the field for a few years now. They're ruggedized, durable, but they stand behind them. They're in the life of the contract.
I would think technology changes so rapidly in a field like that you wouldn't want more than a 5-year contract, even as a user.
That's what I was going to say, is I think at that point we would reevaluate what's out there for technology
Right.
and decide that we want.
And I wouldn't question that. The other part I have is the federal government is contemplating providing grant money for just what we're talking about. Do we know where that stands at this point in time?
Yeah, I know they're talking about 50,000 units and 500,000 officers in the country, so.
Right.
Where all the chiefs are like, so who's going to be the 50,000, and I know I know of 3 departments that are 10,000 or more.
It won't be Tilton.
Yeah, so we're kind of thinking of small right away. And typically when we hear an announcement like that, it's usually 6 to 12 months before it actually happens.
Right.
And in that time, something happened that I wish I didn't wait, I wish I...
And I'm realistic enough to know that, but at the same time, the other part of me wants to say, at least apply.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Apply for that, so that we have some kind of reserve or a backup plan.
Yeah, we are in talks with Highway Safety to see if they'll help do some reimbursement where it could be connected to motor vehicle stocks, so hopefully that will pan out. It's never 100%, but it will be down.
Good. Catherine? Anything?
Could always have a special meeting.
And Pat, we're coming full circle. Pat?
I just wanted to point out that, well, for new people anyway, that the merit raise pool in PD is for the people that are non-union contractual. And the other merit raise pools in the other departments, the area, highway, town hall, and non-contractual in PD is based on a 2.5%.
The contract is now in its second year with the PD. What's the salary schedule for this time or this year, this fiscal year coming up? Is there a percentage in raise?
It varies on, this is a very unique contract proposal, contract agreement that they signed, and there are certain folks that get raises depending on where they fall in the line. So yes, there are raises there. Everybody contributes, is it 15.5?
15.75%.
15 3/4 towards their health care insurance this year. Next year it will be 16 and
Quarter.
And the 15.75 is up from
Is up to 14.5.
14.5 and then going up, and the raises,
Yes.
are they,
Raises, but they're different.
does it even out as they go? That's all, it evens out as it goes across.
They were trying to make the gaps less in between.
Are there any other big ticket items within the contract that would affect anything in the budget?
I don't, not contractual.
Okay.
No, it's the same, everything. The detail money is the same, everything's, the only thing is overtime.
Okay.
And he's trying to keep that down.
So everything that is in the contract for the fiscal year 15 has been incorporated into the current operating budget for fiscal year 15. And it came out to an increased level, same level, or lower level than last year?
Oh, the total budget?
Yes.
The total, it's increased. It's about, right, the wages is what really brought it up. It's about 4% higher. I think, let me see. Yeah, 4%. It was 2,040,000. The budget was $1,951,019 last year. And this year, right? We're asking for $2,029,312, which is an increase of $78,293, which comes to 4%.
Okay, good. I noticed in November, we were still sending a person to polygraph school? There was an retraining.
Recertification, right.
Okay, so we're still involved with that part of the program. And what, recertification is for how long?
He has to attend class every year.
Once a year.
Year to year? So every year he or she must be recertified. Okay, and we're picking up,
The initial class is like 8 weeks.
okay, and we're picking up the cost for that to occur. Okay. Budget Committee, any further questions, comments?
I have
Go ahead, Eric.
This, last year, we cut out parking enforcement. Was that the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do?
Well, according to him or to us?
Both.
I'll throw the question out there.
All right.
We feel the department is fully staffed, and that can be done within the officers. We already have that hiring someone to specifically do parking.
Okay. Chief?
Well, I was just gonna say, there was a couple of years where we weren't, and
That's
that's where
right.
we needed the help, so, you know, the board gave me some parking enforcement to kind of fill in the gap there, because we were down-staffed a while, so now that we are, you know, it does make it easier to have people staff and say, all right, officer, you know, A, go down there and handle parking, and you still have people handling calls, but there was a while there we were running so lean that we didn't have the availability to do that. Calls were up, staff was down, and that made it hard, so it is easier being full staff to be able to take care of some of that stuff, so.
Matt?
He pretty much said it on board.
Good.
We felt we have a full support staff up there now, that they're very capable of doing the parking enforcement rather than go out and spend money on parking enforcement person.
I got one more.
Yeah, go ahead, sir. No, you're fine.
The building, has there been anything that we've been Band-Aiding besides the whole building? And,
We just...
well, I know we just did the HVAC system, I mean, our computer, I mean, is there any other big thing, I mean, you know, that could go wrong, I guess, or?
Chief or Tim?
With what? This building, or?
There's a couple of things.
Yeah.
The phone system is what's really important, and that's in...
I saw that in the IT budget, so.
Yeah. IT budget.
Budget. I'd really rather Tim explain.
No, but I'm just thinking, you know, I
The building
don't,
itself,
wallpaper,
Building itself, it's old,
pretty secure.
yeah,
and it's pretty secure. We did a lot of renovations a couple years ago
Yeah.
for liability and safety reasons. As far as doing renovations, there's no plans in the future. Last year, we replaced the, what do you call it, the office, the crew, where the officers do their reports.
Oh, yeah, the flooring.
We did the flooring with
The duty room.
eco-friendly flooring, and there's just one more portion of the flooring left to do, which is an admin, to get the old carpet up that's been there for years and years and years, which carries a lot of stuff.
Chief and Tim?
I was just, you know, curious,
That's the
just,
project.
no, I just didn't know if there's anything else that we should, like, just pray that it gets through another
Not
year, or,
anticipated.
I mean,
Right.
All set with that, Chief?
Yeah, nothing in 15, you know, and
I mean, I'm sure you didn't plan on the HVAC system going out on you in
Right.
July, and,
we put in a really, really good system last quite a while.
A couple years out, maybe on the roof,
Yeah, I think
3 to 5 years.
you might be starting to look at
Parking lot.
Right.
Parking lot.
Parking lot.
Maybe lining the parking lot.
mirrors for
Yeah.
sensors when people.
John, since the police, your bailiwick?
What's the yellow thing?
That's your bailiwick, go ahead.
What's the yellow, is that a generator outside the police
I
station?
just had a question for Tim. Joyce, revenues.
Yes.
When will we come up with estimated revenues?
We discussed that. It just wasn't time permitting to bring it to the selectmen at the meeting earlier today, but within the next week.
So then that will go to the
I'm good
budget.
for now.
Yeah, Eric, you all set?
I'm good for now. Sorry.
Okay.
Lots of
Question
Have
I'd be...
Money coming in, show that too.
killing couple birds with one stone. I noticed in November's financial, we're over budget, I think in maintenance for PD, by $1,000.
That's probably the air conditioning.
Air conditioning.
The air conditioning, because I know that line item was 160% or something like that. So that was the air conditioning.
It was looking real good right till the end of the
Right till
summer.
that thing.
And then all of a sudden, you know,
Building
they were actually
maintenance.
below budget for a while until that one.
Okay,
And some of us were there when that air condition failed, I'll tell you, that was not a pleasant.
but you were able to absorb that, Tim and John, within that budget, last FY14
Yep.
budget, correct?
Yes.
Okay, good. Chief, anything else? Pat, anything else?
Not for PD.
Chief, you're welcome to stay or welcome to go out. Enjoy the evening. Okay. Pat, who's next?
Town clerk, tax collector, do you have the sheets?
No, I can, if you want to do it.
We can, all right, we'll do Joyce's one.
I looked at her sheet. Town clerk tax collector, as you can see, is looking for a raise. For a number of years, well, actually, all the years I was a selectman, the selectman always treated her raise as we would any other employee. Until a few years ago, we found out that by RSA, we had no authority to do that. Only the legislative body can. So when she requests for a raise, we leave it, and the legislative body deals with it. During that years, there were times when she didn't get a raise because employees in town hall didn't get a raise. But what she's looking for, she compared a number of communities with, and it's hard, there aren't many out there that have the combined positions of town clerk, tax collector, and village town clerk, tax collector. So she did a comparison of those other communities and came up with this average, if you will, of what that town clerk, tax collector is being paid. And it's difficult because you really can't compare Tilton with communities of the same population because our budget is much higher. You know, what she pulls in over that counter is much higher than communities similar to our size. It's like we're not compared to Northfield at all. With Exit 20, there's a lot more activity down there. But that's how she came up with that request for a salary increase.
Okay.
And also keep in mind that she is not subject to a merit raise as
No.
others are. This is it. This is all built into this right here, her salary,
Okay.
because the town has to vote hers in.
So if the town decides to give her a raise, the legislative body, that is put in a warrant article.
No, it's put in here.
It's in this budget.
If they
The town has to vote for it within the budget.
within the budget.
So we will not know until the day,
It's in here now.
We
It's
we
right
put the
here.
money, the amount in
Put the
here,
money here in the budget. If you look at
and
page,
but it can get amended on the floor by
right,
the
page
legislative
5
body.
will show you that the salary of the town clerk tax collector is going from 51,390 to 60,000. And if that gets approved, then that's what the town clerk tax collector will receive.
okay?
And then when July comes and everybody gets merit raise, she's excluded from that merit raise.
I guess,
And then she gets her raise again in the budget season. Next year, she has to either put in or not put in, whatever.
then I guess the question I have is that we can't even touch that line item at this point in time because we don't know whether or not that would be acceptable, which seems to be contrary to the budget process.
No, you still can make a recommendation.
Right.
We have to.
Okay.
You still make a recommendation on whether you approve or don't. We do. We make a recommendation on whether we approve or we don't approve it. It's just like the highway department, if they want to submit their budget and we say, well, I think you should take a little bit off here, we're approving or shaving a little off. The same process with you.
So this is the process, as I understand it. If we decide at this point in time that we decide $53,000 is what we would budget, the tax collector would then have to go to the legislative body, ask for that to be amended to the full amount,
That she wants.
okay?
Correct.
And then, if it is, it comes back to the budget, and we have to amend that budget total.
That is the
If it's approved
budget.
at town meeting, it's amended.
Okay.
Don't have to-
We don't have to do it
That's
that.
the end of it. It's done. But, you know, it will go in as selectmen approved and budget committee not approved or something to that effect, and that's how it will go.
Okay.
But whatever you put in, but she's taken a good hard look at a lot of different areas and what they did. She essentially did what we did last year. We, the Board of Selectmen, of course, I recused myself, but on the deputies' wages last year, when they took a look at the deputies' wages and they did a wage adjustment on the deputies' wages, that was done last year, if you remember. So that actually closed the gap of what the town clerk tax collector is making and the deputy's making, and she's been here 15 years.
Okay. Catherine, could we have a copy of that, so that we have some kind of data to look at?
Tim was going downstairs to get
I
it.
think Tim has,
Yes.
what I
Okay,
have
so
is
Tim's
I
gonna
have
have
my
it.
list.
Get it.
I thought she had left it with me, but I don't see
Right.
it.
So that's the increase you see on page 5, that she's requesting the wage adjustment. On the salary, the wage adjustment was done last year. That's why you see the increase this year. In office supplies, everything else has gone down except postage, which there's a lot more mailings and a lot more things that are going out. That was increased by 500. The conferences, even though they expended 997, she's still putting in for the 2,000 because last year we got a grant for Kim's, and hopefully we can get a grant this year, depending on what the circumstances are, and we saved a little money. But if we can't, we need to keep the money in there for that. But last year, the budget was $109,906. This year, the budget's $126,751.
So the situation could exist that we could vote for the $60,000, give or take. The legislative body can then say, we're not going to give it to you. That money would stay within the operating budget
Right.
and could be used for other
Right.
items.
If you approve it, either way, if you approve it, at town meeting, someone could get up and say, I'd like to make a motion to amend the town clerk tax collector's salary line item by this much, and we have no control over it.
Right.
Or
They could increase it.
disapprove it, they could just do the opposite and say, I make a motion that we increase it to 60,000,
Right.
and then it goes by the legislature.
And I'm not talking about the line item. She still has to get up and, as a warrant article, to ask for the raise.
No,
No.
it's
No.
not a warrant article.
No, it's
A warrant
not.
article.
Not a warrant article.
So when,
part
It's the
of
budget.
so in this column where it says Budget Committee approved, we can write in
You have-
$1 if we really wanted
Yeah.
to.
You could write in $2, $100,000.
Right, we could put $100,000 there and,
The legislative body has to approve her wage. The selectmen can't give her a merit raise. We can't adjust, here it is. No one can adjust what the legislative body votes on
For
for
an
her
elected-
to have as a salary.
As an
Once the
elected
legislative body has voted X amount of dollars for that elected position,
Right.
that's it. The selectmen can't decide to give her a merit raise.
Okay.
We can't decrease
So
it.
They're separate, almost like a separate agency, the town clerk's tax collector is elected.
Where I'm getting
Any
confused,
other line item.
right, where I'm getting confused, and I think people are getting confused out in the real world. If she asks for the raise, that has to be presented to the legislative body for their okay. We, as the budget committee, are putting it in the line item for our operating budget.
That's good.
So if she goes over to the legislative body,
Budget goes to the legislature.
budget goes to her, so she does not have to ask them. It's all within
It's all within the
this.
budget.
So if the budget committee says no to 60 and says 55, she will then have to go over and ask for it to be amended the line item to be amended to do that. And what we're saying is, that action is fulfilling the RSA as the legislative body, creating the salary for that position.
That's right.
Okay, that's where I'm starting.
Recommend or not recommend, but, you know, with the data that she's collected and look at her time here, and
Thank you, Tim.
job
Right.
and what it entails, and I think that, you know, you can recommend or not recommend the
Right.
budget, or recommending it.
My only concern was the confusion around the process, how that was presented, and I think other voters need to look at this and say, this is what's going to happen, and get that confusion minimized, so when they're looking at the budget, they still know they have the say on whether or not this raise continues or not. And it doesn't have to be a separate action. It can be by that same action. Okay? Thank you. Pat, anything else from the town?
Well, the town clerk tax collector, that's about it.
Okay?
That's, so, administration,
Well, anyways, there are questions from the committee?
town clerk tax collectors, well said.
All set? Joyce, welcome.
McWine.
Hi. It's a small overall increase of about 3%. Most of that has to do with the increases that were adopted at town meeting, increase in the selectmen's salary, and then the merit increases, the numbers that you see for the wages include the merit increases approved for that year. Only other, everything was pretty much level funded. We do, if you go down to the reappraisal property, as you know, we had an update. We updated all of our values for 2014. And the selectmen are in the process right now of negotiating or renegotiating another year contract with our current assessing company. And so that number could very well come down. We have a couple of proposals before them. Legal expense, because we had an update year, we won't really know until March, which is the deadline for when abatement requests, they have to request an abatement if they're not satisfied with their assessment. And we try and handle those internally as part of our assessing contract, but some of those may choose to file with the Board of Tax and Land Appeal, which our assessing contract would defend that. But if they go to the Board of, the Superior Court, then you have to have an attorney, and that's where, and some of these appeals, especially with the Superior Court, they can go on for years. So, because there is some uncertainty there, that's why we decided to go ahead and increase it 10,000. But our hope is we don't want to have to spend it. Town hall maintenance and repairs, every year we have a list of capital projects and things that we reprioritize every year, and some of them we get done and some of them we don't, because there's other outstanding items that kind of take precedence. It's like, okay, well, we'll wait another year. But this year we are, and if you look at the bottom of the page, it lists some of the projects that we're going to do. And some we were able to take care of in this year's budget. And everything goes out to bid. We don't have a request for proposal, so we're going to do the best we can with the increase, the $33,000. And just to back up a little bit, with our health and dental insurance, there was a very small increase. It was 0.08% premium increase. The selectmen we did solicit proposals for other pools and other private insurers. They're all on a fiscal year, so we have until June to sit down and really digest all that information and decide if we want to make a change, and to see what would be better for the town and the employees. And then our regular insurances, our property liability, our workers' comp, in the past, there's always been like a 9% increase in the base rate. This year, there was only a 5% increase in the base rates. But what happened is, in our property liability insurance, they call it a modification factor. It's like your experience factor on our property liability that did increase. our workers' comp decreased. We went from, I think, a 73 to a 0.73 to 0.71. So that explains the other increase. And also, both those plans are also on a fiscal year. So we have to budget for 6 months of the year at the old rates and then 6 months at the new rates. So it's really higher than that, but that increase doesn't take effect until July. And other than that, we're pretty low-key. We just try and greet the public and take care of everybody that walks in the front door, whatever their needs may be, which could be, a dog complaint, to their taxes, to need an air conditioner for an elderly person, or, someone's complaining about this and that, and, we just take care of them. So all we're done, at least in the front office, is just dealing with the public, and thankfully we have Tim in the finance department, so he can handle all the money part of it, and we deal with the people part.
Good. Ready for some questions?
Yes.
Catherine, we'll actually start with you tonight. Anything?
No, I'm good.
Catherine's so quiet, I can't get over this. Eric?
She's had a long day.
Not yet.
Okay, I'll come back to you. Couple of questions. Revenues. Have we any idea where we're standing with revenues at this point in time, or is it too early?
It's too early. We haven't reviewed them with the selectmen yet, but they're not going to be as high as they were in 2014.
Okay, good. See, I love those quick answers. Don't need the figures, just where we're going. Health insurance. Does the town employees' share change yearly as to their contribution?
For 2015, the contribution percentage is the same as last year, which is 12%.
Okay, good. That's what I like to hear, too. Jane?
Yeah, I have a question. You're talking about the reappraisal of property and how much we pay Avatar. Now that we have made a full-time position of the land use coordinator, has there been any thought given to give some of the responsibilities that we're paying Avatar to do to that position?
Pat, you certainly?
Under the land use department, and we'll go over that.
Good.
That's a good question, and we'll address it in the land use.
All right.
One question supplementing from that, just so people understand. Reevaluation process, it's a 3 or 4 year process of payment.
Every 5 years.
5 year,
Yeah, it's 4 years of data verification, and the 5th year you adjust all the values.
and it's split over those 5, the payment.
The payment's split over 5 years.
And that payment is yearly. What is it yearly right now? It may change.
24, 438.
Close.
38,
Close enough.
568.
It's close. You're very close. That's not it.
Because part of it is data verification, part of it is just
Right.
the regular
The
contractual.
only reason I bring it up because citizens need to understand that it's not a 1 year process, that it's spread out over time, and that's how it's paid for. John,
Yes.
anything?
No.
This board is too quiet tonight.
I've been over it for many hours. I've been on this already.
Jules,
Yeah, already asked my question.
Tim, any input? I did something questionable when he gets asked.
We're pretty simple.
Yes, I like putting him on the spot. He's still thinking.
Well, I don't know what, if they discussed everything, but it's all,
Our computer needs are fine.
no, not true.
Okay. John,
Our new server, but,
Take it off the abacus, huh?
yeah.
Can we get a PDF?
Certainly.
That's my only question.
there you go, good.
Yeah.
Pat, you're next. Who's next?
Land
Budget.
use.
Okay, land use. Jane.
So we are proposing that we do the land use assessment to a full-time position.
Right. Well, first of all, we would just be, right now he's 32 hours hourly. Okay, what we've requested is to add 8 hours a week, which would flop them into the full-time category, so now we're paying benefits. with that 8 hours, there's a lot of work with the planning and zoning, with the land use office, in terms of, and he does have a planning background, so he hit the ground running, and being able to meet the needs of the planning and zoning board, because it's all statutory. I mean, there's things that he has to do. But now with that extra time, he can work more with people that are coming in with questions about what they can and cannot do, and work closely with the code enforcement officer. They have a good relationship. And then also now, he can focus more energy on working with the planning board to keep the master plan up to date, because that's your Bible, that's your plan. At the planning board, everybody should have their master plan, and they should have all their zoning regs and ordinances and regulations, because that's going to help you with your decision-making on what, how you want Tilton to look, and what you want it to look. And then same with the zoning board, any needed zoning changes and things like that. Also, the planning board also has a responsibility for having a capital improvements program, which helps the budget committee and it helps all the departments to plan for their purchases. And a few years ago, back when there was a full-time, back when Sandy was the planning person, the position was full-time, there was a very active capital improvements. So he'll be able to devote some time to that. And then the next part with starting now going forward, we're in a process of scanning and digitizing and archiving, because there's just so much paper that comes into the land use office and the assessing office. So he'll be we've already started that a little bit on getting all our naming conventions set up. He's very computer literate and has great attention to detail, which is, you need someone like that in that type of position. And then on top of that, he's also going to be assuming some of the just day-to-day clerical assessing duties that our contract assessor does. Calculating land use change taxes, yield taxes, anything that is associated with the land, with land use. The elderly exemptions and veterans exemptions, things like that, which are to be kept confidential, I'll be doing that. But in terms of all the record keeping and the filing, entering value changes when properties transfer, entering the new data that comes in from the assessor, but everything that he'll be doing will be reviewed by the assessor. So he won't be an assessor, he's just doing the clerical functions.
Start with Jane and
All
then
right,
John.
that answered my question.
Good. John?
It's a lot to put on someone for just additional.
And if that goes through Avatar, we'll be reducing some of their costs to us. So we will get a reduction of what we pay to Avatar. Our fees will be going down by the work that
It's about 5,000.
Barry takes over, 4,000 or 5,000.
Good. Now that you're ready for more questions, you guys two settled already. Jules?
Blue?
Pat? Catherine?
No,
Eric?
thank you, though.
Yep, he'll be right with you.
Is he considered an exempt employee?
Say again?
Is he an exempt employee, salary? He's a straight salary, or is he still an hourly?
Hourly.
He's still an hourly?
So it shouldn't be.
Yeah, we did a major.
Where do his benefits fall?
The admin budget.
The admin budget, okay,
Yeah.
okay. I was just, when you mentioned insurance and stuff, I didn't see that, so.
That would be under the
just
admin.
asking.
All the town hall staff, their fringe benefits and their FICA and Medicare are all budgeted in the admin line item.
Nope, pretty familiar with what he does.
I am all set. Pat, whoever's next.
All right, on page 13,
He's done.
the health and human
Was done.
services, the salary, the health officer, just reflects the 2.5, reflects merit
Got a raise.
from last year. So
Because some towns
that's
hire
slightly, miscellaneous
big bucks
expenses
to do it.
is low funded.
do that.
You'll notice that we went down $10,000 on welfare, general assistance. Board felt that over the years, she is an incredibly resourceful director, and consistently over the past years has not used the money that we put in there. Although he feels that there's going to be a slight increase this year, we moved it down to 40,000 from 50. And see if that plays out. So that's it on Health and Human Services. The only others are, did you get everything, Tim, except yours?
I think you got everything.
And we have everything except finance and
IT.
And I'm just going to let Tim speak on those because you don't want me talking about the money.
Are there any questions around Health and Human Services that the board has any questions or any comments?
I think she's to be commended, as I've always said. I mean, it's just amazing what she does. When you look at what she spent so far this year, it's just...
And on page 15, you also have a list of outside agencies that we approved.
Also on Health and Human Services there.
There are a few.
Right now, she would have been up here, but she's volunteering her time to give out, collect and give out presents to kids that don't have them at her cost.
Yeah.
We're pretty lucky to have
Yeah.
a
Yes.
person like that.
Right.
So I guess you're passing the torch to Tim.
Okay. So just if I could point out also in the budget on the second page, there's just kind of a synopsis of, what the major changes are by department area. And just to refresh your memory, if as you're going through it, go back and wonder why something changed. And it highlights the difference between the 14 budget and the proposed 15 budget. On page 6, finance. So the finance budget is essentially unchanged, very little change. The only two changes were the finance director's salary, my salary, which reflects a merit increase from last year, and then on the debt interest on TAN, which went up slightly. At the end of this year, we used, for the second tax bill, we used fund balance to help buy down the tax rate some. And in anticipation of using some of that fund balance, I can see cash flow-wise, we're going to need to borrow a little differently in 2015. And rates are going up slightly in 2015. So I added some money to the TAN interest expense, which is our, TAN stands for tax anticipation note. But where a traditional TAN is you borrow the entire amount of money. We have a $2 million TAN. We don't do it that way. We've worked out a deal with our bank that we borrow as needed, like a line of credit. We pay it back as we have it. So we're able to manage the interest expense pretty carefully. And as anybody knows, it's been around about 3 weeks before tax bills go out. I am managing bills and payments and money to the point where the treasurer gets really worried and tells me we hardly have any money in the account, and so it's okay because we're going to get through this, or yeah, we got to borrow a little bit extra. But because of the way we borrow and pay it back, we're able to manage that much lower amount than most other communities that have to borrow that amount of money. Outside of that, the debt, the principal and interest, we have a bond that's expiring this year, that's being paid off this year. And what happens at the end of a debt schedule is you're paying more in principal and less in interest at the very end. And so if you look and see the principal is up year to year, but the interest is down, it's because of this one anomaly. But if you add them together and you look at year to year, we're down, and we'll be down again next year. There's only that one item coming off in 2015. 2016, we'll have Riverfront Park cleanup and construction debt coming off. So that'll be the last year to budget for that. Outside of that, it's pretty standard. Are there any questions?
Questions from the committee? Herb?
Pretty straightforward.
Okay, Jane? John?
No.
Jules? Nope. Catherine? Go ahead, sir.
All right. Information technology.
There you go, good.
Saving the best for last, apparently. So, let's see. Oh, wait. Okay, the town clerk. I'm thinking,
He's also the IT director, right?
All right, this budget reflects really, what our immediate needs are in the next 12 months. We have a 15-year-old phone system at the PD that we managed to eke another year out of this year, but it's showing its age through a number of factors. It's very hard to get parts for, which we were almost in a spot where we lost service at one point in the beginning of the year. But we had a company that was able to get parts off of eBay, but you can't go to a supplier and get parts for the system anymore. You have to find, a used or, scavenge system. Many of the handsets are in very bad shape. I was able to buy some off of eBay this last year and replace some of them. But the phone system doesn't have the capability that we need for really the number of people we have and for the number of lines that we need at the PD. It's really showing. If you're over there at any point in time, you can easily have 4 people on the phones during the first shift and not be able to get through. It's, you have a detective making a call, you have a call coming in on the line, you have, the officers have a back line to call into so that they can, reach someone. It's very easy to see that system reach its capacity very quickly. The voicemail card has a short in it for one of the ports, so it is operating, but it's shorted out once this last year, and we almost lost the voicemail system. So it's something that's kind of, it's being held together, very tentatively, but it is operating. And as I said, we were able to make it through the year through some parts and some service, and that's. It's soon going to reach a point where it's going to fail, and we're going to be forced to buy something. And if any of you remember what happened here at Town Hall, we took a severe hit probably about 6 years ago. It was a lightning hit, maybe 7 years ago, and the phone system was totally dead. There was no recovering it at all. It fried the circuitry. And we were forced to make a quick decision on a phone system that it fills the basic need, but if we'd had time and been able to work out something, we might have gotten something a little more that would serve us more into the future. I don't want to see that happen at the PD. I want to make sure that the investment of our dollars is wisely spent and not only suits their needs today, but for years to come. So within this budget, between the hardware, software, and services, there are a lot of items for the police department. Police department, obviously, as you can see by the amount of money that we spend on it, incorporates the largest share of the town. And I think their most critical system that needs to be replaced is the phone system. We also have some software that we're looking at over there that would really help with productivity. There are procedures that the officers are going through today where they're having to write something down on a pad of paper, then, and if you look at the number of times they'll take a call for service during the day, they might have 9 or 10 during a shift, and then you multiply that by the number of shifts they're doing per week, so you got 45, let's say, calls for service, and then you multiply that by, 52 weeks, that they're working, or 50 weeks that they're working, and and then you multiply that by the number of officers there, you're talking some really large numbers that are written down hand-wise, then typed up, and then they have to look up information regarding either the suspects or vehicles or things like that. They have to enter it. There's opportunities for transposition of, of numbers, of names. They end up with sometimes duplicate names, but the first name off slightly in the system. So there's a lot of things that become very inefficient because it's a very manual process. We have an opportunity now to purchase some software that fits into our application software in the PD called IMC that loads the information from SPOTS. So SPOTS is the state police terminal system. And what it does is it backfills all the name, address, social security number, vehicle information, VIN, license plate, driver history, everything that they would need to load into their call can be done by just pulling it up in SPOTS and hitting a button. Now that piece of software is $1,500. It's a one-time charge, and then we pay 18% maintenance on it after the fact. And that integrates very closely with our, or it's made by the same people that make our application software that we've used in the PD for years. It requires an additional piece of hardware in the server room, which I have, that I can repurpose something else to do. And in conjunction with that, the other piece of software we're looking at is it's a cross-agency support where 16 hours of our 24-hour shifts today are dispatched by Belknap County. So when someone calls into 911 and they've got an emergency in Belknap, they're taking down the information, they're putting it into their system, which is IMC, the same system we use, and they're filling out all the information about that call. So they're putting in, the name, the address, what the emergency was, who called, what their phone number was, all that sort of thing. And so it's getting logged there. But there's no means by which we can get that information from Belknap County into our system. This other piece of software, which is the cross-agency support, takes any of that information that's filled in from Belknap and it loads it into our system. So once again, you look at the amount of productivity that you expect an officer to be on the street patrolling or driving or one thing or another, and what they're doing is they're sitting in the squad room and they're reviewing their notes, they're typing in the information, and I, no offense to the officers, but these aren't fast typists, that's not what they do. So it's not a very efficient process. So by having these two components, one that loads from SPOTS, which also the dispatcher can use, and then also the second thing, capturing the information from those 16 hours that we're not dispatching, those two things combined should be a huge productivity increase for the PD and allow the officers to spend more time, providing public safety and policing support. So those are two big components of software. I have a license. I have a few other licenses in here that one of which is for the server replacement that'll go into Town Hall, that'll replace the server that the support is ending in June. And we're running, and I'd be happy to talk to any of you if you're interested in the technical details, but we're running 2012 Hyper-V, which is a virtualized environment, so we can run multiple instances of servers on top of this base system. And what this does for us is that with both the PD and the Town Hall running the same Hyper-V solution, they can have a backed up instance of the Town Hall system, and we can have a backed up instance of the PD system, and they can trickle back up to each other. So it's complete within the existing licensing. You just can't run that one instance more than once. So if God forbid, the PD went up in flames and we had the trickled backup here, someone could literally come over here, we could start up that server in the virtualized environment, they could sit down at a computer here, and they could run the application software with current data without any interruption. So, and vice versa. If there was some sort of catastrophe here, something happened, the stairwell caved in on the server, we'd be able to go over there and, process motor vehicles or tax collection or, one thing or another. So we wouldn't be totally out of the water where we'd be looking at a week to be able to get up and running and probably, tens of thousands of dollars, by having people working around the clock to get us back up. So there's some software in there for that. There's also a license of software that, it's a long story, I won't bore you with it, but where we will purchase this ability to create our own tax cards, and we will replicate what Avatar does for us now that we're paying a service for. So we're charged $1 per tax card to have those tax cards online. And it's something that we can do through some programming that I'll be able to do. And for those of you that know, I do a little bit of programming here and there. So in any case, it's a one-time fee, and then we'll be able to host the tax cards ourselves. And we'll save $2,192 a year once we purchase this $1,100 piece of software. Outside of that, I mentioned there is money for services. One of the things that the selectmen are concerned about is having, too many eggs in the me basket. So it's incumbent upon me to make sure that I've documented things for them, that I have service companies behind me that they can go to that are familiar with the more critical components of our system, particularly the network infrastructure and the server management. And we have those relationships. So part of what I have in here also is services to be able to access, companies like that as needed. And there have been times, particularly for the VPN here, where we'll replace the T1 connection for the motor vehicle registration. When that comes down the line, and it's projected to be 2015, but when that happens, we'll make use of a company to do that. And outside of that, we discussed the body cameras earlier. There's other, small replacements. There's some things pertaining to the archival of parcels and, providing scanning and things like that. But those are more minor.
Good. Ready for questions?
Sure.
Jewel.
I was just wondering, who are you going with for the phone system? What is the company name?
Well, the provider or the
or the
manufacturer?
The manufacturer. I was just wondering if it was local. There's a company on 132 that does that.
Oh, no, I wasn't aware of them. No, this is, the service provider is out of Hillsborough, Arcom, and there's two solutions that are about the same. One is through Fairpoint, and one is an Avaya system through Arcom.
Okay. That's all I have for that.
John? No. Jane?
I just have a comment. You talked a lot about productivity and the software changes at the police department. I think another plus for that is the accuracy, because when you have people who aren't familiar with typing or inputting, it's very easy to make errors. And I think when you're dealing with public safety, you're dealing with the potential for lawsuits, it's very important that everything be extremely accurate. And I think the software you're talking about will buy that for us also, which is a plus. That's it.
Excellent. So I go back to my original question with the PD. Where does that put us in regards to, are we advancing? Are we decreasing? Or are we just treading water at this point in time in regards to computers?
No, we are advancing. I'm just so incredibly pleased with the server environment that we have there. And there are many other little opportunities we have, but we were experiencing intermittent problems before. We were dealing with, at one point, to begin with, there were 4 servers we got it down to 2, and now we're down to 1. And the ability to have these backed up to one another, once we have the one installed here, it's, I'm interested not so much in the gadgetry. I want something that's reliable, that's consistent, that's easily supportable, and that, someone else can step in from the outside and take over, if something happened to me. So that's really what I'm after. I'm not after, gee, isn't this cool? And so when I've looked at the design and how these things will fit together, that's always what I'm looking for, is how reliable is it? Is it going to be something that our users, it's going to be overwhelming for users, or, and I think we've got a really great plan. I really do. The other opportunities, as I see them going down the road, are being on one virtual network. And the phone system that would go in at the PD would integrate with a phone system replacement here. Because as you have, if you think about it, if we were all in one building, say, we have someone that answers the phones in the PD today, we have someone that answers the phones here, we'd probably have one person answering the phones if we were in the same building. Now, not everybody agrees with that, but that's how I see it. If this were my company, that's how I would look at it. So there are some real technical opportunities where we're duplicating effort right now in the PD in one area, and we're duplicating it here at Town Hall. There really is only a need to enter, and these are entering invoices for the PD. If they're entered once, that should be it. But they're getting entered there, they're getting entered here. There's reasons for that, but if we were on the same network, it would only have to be entered once. So there's a lot of little things like that that aren't maybe huge, in and of themselves, but when you add them all up, it means that we're able to provide better service, we're able to communicate better with each other, and in the end, have more efficiencies of operation so that we can spend time on the more important things and less on the busy work.
But, and that kind of gets to my second question, which was, what was the goal for fiscal year 15? And you sounds like you've already explained what you're looking at as specific goals for that year.
The goals, I still, I list out my goals. The goal number 1 is an infrastructure to provide efficient, responsive public services. That to me is the IT budget's number 1 goal. Then security and employee tools to protect the town from liability, improving reliability, consistency of tools in all departments, reducing reliance on old server technologies and services, improving employee communications and public accessibility to data, and saving money through productivity improvements. Those are my 6 goals. And anytime I have a budget item, I tag, what goal is this addressing? Because it's really, for me, because I'm one guy, it's resource utilization and making sure that when we do take on projects, these are projects that we can accomplish, in a greater good, and that lead to something, bigger. So we have some real opportunities. The fact that we'll have Dari and land use full-time, and being able to build out the data for our archives so that eventually, rather than going down into the basement and looking for land use information in a folder, you're going to be able to search using Google search to find, here's a word in these 16 documents pertaining to this parcel you were looking for. And cut out the busy work, focus on things that you can use. So with him being here, with some other personnel changes that, inevitably are going to happen across the town, I think, the more that we have the same type of technology and we're better integrated, I think, there are going to be other opportunities that I don't see, that Joyce will see, or the chief will see, or others, and they'll say, hey, can we do this, or can we do that? And, that's really what it's about. Because the last thing is,
Okay.
the 60% of our budget in the town is personnel and personnel related. So if we can use technology to not grow that personnel, but maintain, the same group and provide more service, if we can use technology toward that goal, doesn't have the same kind of recurring costs, it doesn't have the same kind of, benefits and taxes and other things. So to me, that's a wise choice where we want to make those investments.
Two minor points. One is a concern that I have, the concern we've had for the last 3 years. You are presently in charge of two very, very difficult departments, finance and IT, and you're split between the two of them. Have you found your time being consumed by one over the other, and is it still within a reasonable boundary?
It really varies. The server replacement took, as you might imagine, an inordinate amount of time. But I'm a firm believer, you do it right the first time, and you spend the time up front, so you save time down the road. It's really hard to say. I really see the importance of the IT director position, which is supposed to be 10 hours a week. Really, the management of the IT work, making sure that we're accessing service companies and others where appropriate, and making sure that we have the right systems in place, the right backup, reliability, redundancy, that sort of thing, so that we don't have any, oops, I never thought of that. So the planning is really important, and making sure that we maintain the current IT plan, maps, that sort of thing, and the documentation. So I can't say that it's challenging at times, but I've been able to balance it so far.
The other concern I have is there anyone that's being cross-trained for the position that you're doing at this point in time, in case something was to happen, that there's a backup? Because we're talking about backups to servers, backups to systems. The system provider, which is you, and the major fix-it, which is you, do you have a plan for a backup?
I do.
Good. I don't need to know, but I just wanted to be...
No, I do, and it's the service companies I mentioned before, and there are higher priority items. Those all have some type of backup to me. The lower priority items don't. But those are things that can be just gone out and replaced.
Good. John, you had a question?
Yeah, I just had one comment. If everybody looks on page 6 there, line number 150.99-999.
Lots of nines?
You see what that is?
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
line 999, page
The
6.
late
You
fee.
got anything to say for yourself, Tim? 0 late fees.
Oh, yeah.
Dylan, this is year what, of 0 late fees?
Yeah,
Third year?
I don't know. But,
Good.
I don't know how he's balancing, he must be balancing this work pretty good.
yeah.
Between the IT, getting all that stuff straightened out, and line 999 there.
I just have a question, and I don't mean to downplay what we're spending money on this year or what we spent money on last year, but it seems that last year's budget and this year's budget has contained a lot, and this is where I want to say I don't want to downplay by calling them bells and whistles, but I don't know any other term to use. I use bling for the chief, but, and as I say, I don't mean to downplay it, but it looks right now like we are poised to move into the future with this budget, in terms of IT, the software, the hardware in place, the body cameras, the tasers, and the latest technology. Do you anticipate that this will be the last year that we will have large outlays of money for different services?
It's really difficult to tell. I would say I can already see that with the PD through the computers and workstations. But there are still things that exist in both locations. We're about halfway through where we need to be with servers because of the server that needs to be installed here. But I think there's always going to be something, it's, I think...
So the answer is no.
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean,
Uncertain.
who knows? I mean, I've got ideas of what I think
Okay.
may happen in the future, but who knows?
All right.
Good. Eric?
I think it was last year, or maybe it was this year, MetroCast was supposed to recable the PD.
Yep.
Did that happen?
It did not, no. And the reason is we did finish our agreement with them, and there was a grant that the town's entitled to. And unfortunately, at the time that I probably should have been working on it, I was finishing the audit at that point. So some time went by, but then when I picked that back up, there'd been a personnel change at MetroCast. So we've been trying to work out with the new person they've had the quote in-house, they've had what we need to do, but we just need to get it to the point. I won't do anything until I have their assurance that they're going to pay for it, and I just haven't gotten that yet. And so obviously there's something that either the new person over there's got to get up to speed on, or we might have to send them a letter, or whatever the requirement is to get that money.
Is that hampering our technology over there by not being rewired?
It's, we've had to make do. I've had to replace runs with just manufactured cable in some cases, and we have all different types of Ethernet cable over there, so it would be much improved. We also have a lot of hubs that would go away with the recabling. So yeah, it would definitely improve things. And also to really make best use of the new phone system, at the same time the Ethernet is being cabled to be able to provide the ports for the phones as well. The phone system cabling there is probably 3 times worse than the Ethernet cabling, to the point where there's some splices that obviously needed at one point in time, but I wouldn't even do it at home like it's done. So there's some real challenges, but it's working, so.
I have to say, only because you just said it, is that a case of you were spread out too thin, where that kind of slipped through the cracks, or?
Yeah, I mean, there are plenty of things. We run a small office, and I imagine just about every office here, has something that there's some balls in the air that, you have to prioritize. And, but I can't say it was a huge length of time, but it was something that I felt, I was definitely the cause of not getting that done sooner. And particularly with the personnel change, had we been able to do it before the person left, we'd probably been able to have it cabled by now, so.
And then you said earlier that the IT position is 10 hours a week. Are you finding that you're putting in more than 10 hours a week?
Quite often.
And is that taken away from your, how many hours a week you're supposed to put in as
40.
finance director?
40, but I'm salaried.
Right, so I know that as a salary person, you always put in more hours.
Well,
I mean, it's,
there's no one else doing the finance job, so
there's no one else doing the IT job either, so.
right, it doesn't get done unless I do it. So, I manage as best I can on a weekly basis. I have set times I do things, and I've got a set schedule that I pretty much stick to, so people know when I'm running certain things and doing certain things and available for IT work. So, it's just, I'm fine with it. But there are times when it all seems to be the perfect storm, on the rare occasion.
No, that's all I.
Good. Catherine? Good. You're getting sleepy. So I take it you're all set at this point in time.
Unless people have questions about the budget.
Okay. I would ask both the chief and a wonderful Joyce here, who provided us food late before. Have you found that the computers and ITs have helped you in regards to your positions and the people that you're supervising? Has that made them more productive and more serviceable to the citizens of Tilton?
Yes, by all means. We're very fortunate to have the technical expertise that we have in-house and a Tilton resident.
Same thing, standardizing operating systems, computers, so it's all the same, and that's where we want to be. I think he's working towards his goals. I was telling him it's the fastest I've seen in a long time, so whatever he's doing, he's doing right.
Good, thank you.
Just one other thing, one of the things that really helps in our job is being able to retrieve information, because we always want to make sure that we treat everyone equally in order to ensure that you have to know what has happened in the past. So what I like is being able, instead of going to 6 different files in 3 different offices, that I can retrieve the information electronically, and it's all there, and you get the complete picture. So that's what we're kind of moving towards, is like to be able to provide better service, better, more accurate service.
Thank you. Pat, any other presentations?
Just say yes.
The budget is, the town, the Board of Selectmen's budget has been presented. Any questions in general? Well, we still have members here to ask questions of. If not, we can give questions to John.
John and I will be here next week. We'll answer questions.
Not next week.
Not meeting next week, right?
We got 2 weeks off, right?
Well, I can probably add, it was just a quick, I just flipping on the last page, because, well, you haven't voted on it, but you've approved 57.5 for the Pines versus their requested, is there
Yes.
just a little, I guess, your justification? Reasoning, I guess.
We level funded it.
Okay.
It wasn't.
That works for me.
unanimous.
That works for me. Is that on tape?
Yes.
No, I just,
All meetings are on tape.
No discussion.
Yeah, there wasn't much discussion on it,
It
but
was last week.
just last week.
We just level funded them and, it is on tape, yeah. Last
Okay.
week.
I think most of the agencies and outside agencies we level funded or did not fund for.
Pat, I wanted to thank you and the heads of your department for providing us information tonight in a very quick and efficient manner. It is 8:45 and you've got through the whole budget. Not bad. And nobody is dead yet. So we have done well. The committee has about 3 procedural things that we need to get through. So thank you, Pat, and welcome. All right, could we go back to the meeting minutes? Please read through them and see if we need to make any additions, subtractions, and/or corrections.
I have a suggestion.
Pat, check the minutes, because you were here.
Yeah, they're fine. I read them, yeah.
Okay,
I just
Joanna?
have a suggestion. On the second paragraph, the committee discussed the Red Cross. The very last sentence, I wondered if we could change it, present for the review and noted that they frequently reorganize, instead of that they had gone through reorganization often.
Do I have a motion for that?
I make a motion for that change.
Oh, you want just moving as amended?
Just add
Oh,
amendment.
you got a bunch.
And the motion is that we accept the minutes as amended. Would you get that to Joanna so she can add the addition?
Yeah.
Good night now. Yes, pizza for you.
All right, I'm going to take it to my husband.
There you go.
We
Any
need-
discussion?
We need a second.
Any questions? Second by John? Any questions? Okay, let's slow down. Motion was made,
I made a motion to...
motion was made.
To accept the minutes as amended.
John seconded.
Tasers.
Further discussion?
Elephant, sorry.
Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Okay, we have 2 other agenda items. One is financials. Did everyone get a chance to look at the November financials? Are there any questions, additions, subtractions, or discussions concerning the November financials?
No.
Does the committee want a motion to accept the financials?
I don't think we,
Yeah, we don't need...
we don't need.
Okay, so everyone is...
It's just FYI stuff.
Okay, that's not a problem. Thirdly, we have a letter from the Pines that you have a that I sent you as an email.
Yeah.
Probably you did not get one. I'll make sure you get it. Jim has asked for some very specific questions to be answered prior to coming over in January. Do we want to provide the questions that he's asked, or do we want to continue on, because we tabled a vote and discussion on the Pines until January 7th? Do you want me to answer the questions, or do you want to continue on?
I'm looking for it, I don't
think I saw
I didn't see
Yeah,
it. I didn't get it.
Was it a letter from the Pines or a letter to the Pines?
From me. I sent it
Oh,
to the
from
Budget
you.
Committee.
No, I didn't get it.
All I got was, "Hi, Jim, the Budget Committee has asked that I invite you to the January 7th Budget Committee
That's
meeting."
all I got.
There should be another memo yesterday?
Yeah, I'll
Oh, it was
forward it
yesterday?
tomorrow.
Okay, that'll be forward. He asked for some very specific questions to be answered prior to coming over to the meeting.
He's asking us questions.
Right,
We don't meet though, before the next time he would have to
that is
be-
correct. But we could always put him on the week after.
What kind of questions? I mean, what?
Do you know what it is? Can you read it briefly?
Yeah.
One of his issues was that he wasn't quite clear when the detailed transaction report was requested. He asked for clarification on that. It was almost as if he wasn't familiar with that report. He wants to make sure that he gives you guys what you're looking for. So I think it needs to be stated to him very clearly that you're looking for each check that was written out and what was spent. He also stated that he wouldn't have any year-end reports until the end of the year and wouldn't get the information until the 5th of January. So then that would only give him 2 days to try to pull everything together to present to us on the 7th. It sounded like he
Here's backward slash.
wasn't really clear on what the committee wants and wants to make sure he has everything together before he comes in.
Oops, that's what Brock.
I guess we wanted an...
We're going to have it up for you just a second, folks. The second one is 48, capital F, small f.
He's wondering, we're looking
67.
for a detailed accounting, which is basically like a check register type. All transactions.
Yeah.
To Pines.
I don't
fairly
think it could be...
I mean, he must
much
have an
clearer.
accounting it's an accounting record for the Pines.
Expense report.
To date, yeah. Expense
Expenses and
Detail.
detail.
Detailed expenditures for the year, I mean, it was pretty clear.
I think so,
If
too.
you read the email, it almost sounds like he's just not familiar with that report,
There they go.
so...
I have the email from...
Got it?
Yes.
Go ahead,
So
Tom.
the technology. Thanks to Tim giving me the password to get on the internet.
We just hacked into Franklin.
Do you want me to forward this to Joanna?
I haven't,
Okay.
so I
It
can
did-
forward it to you guys.
It just says, "Good morning, Wayne. I received your invitation to your January 7th meeting yesterday via email. She mentioned that the Budget Committee would like a detailed transaction report for the year. Before accepting the invitation, there are some questions that I have. 1, what information are you looking for and in what format? 2, how detailed do you want this report to be? 3, if it is indeed year-end info, are books closed on the 31st and final numbers are not available till January 5th. That gives me 2 days to write the report and no time for the Budget Committee to digest it and come up with pertinent questions. In light of this information, do you wish to proceed with the January 7th date? Thank you for your time, and please feel free to call me at 286-8653 if you'd like to discuss this further. Have a great day, Jim."
You look up in the dictionary what the word detail means.
I'm
I think we can get it to date to this
Yeah,
date.
that's
all we
need, to
Actually
date.
does it. He doesn't have to wait till the 5th.
Right.
We could have it through today. He should be able to print, I would hope that they use some type of software, whether it be Quicken or a spreadsheet program where they could just click print.
Okay.
I think that
Sure they
the
have
person that was asking a lot of those detailed questions, he's not here tonight, but I think he was looking more around the payroll issue.
No, I think we were looking for everything.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, so I will, if the committee would like, I will address that.
Yep.
Line by
And send it
line,
out
dollar by
to them.
dollar.
Print out the ledger and where ins and outs.
Good. Okay,
Oh,
committee is comfortable with that? Okay,
may I sign out of your email?
great, it's up to you, sir. The other is, we have a letter from Genesis. Did everyone get a copy of the letter from Genesis?
yep.
Do we, at this point in time, want to reconsider having them come over and give a presentation to the committee?
I guess,
Didn't they
There
come
was-
over during the summer?
yeah.
They asked, they wrote us in the summer to see if they could give a presentation, and they were asked to wait until the budget season.
Yes.
Right.
In light of that, and in light of the fact that they did send a lot of detail in the letter that they sent to us, I think we would be remiss to not at least hear them.
Okay.
That's my opinion of it. I would also like to review with our welfare director those figures before they come in, if we could do that.
John, is that possible?
I'm up in the air either way. I have their financials and what they submitted to us, and that's sufficient for me.
Okay.
And I thought, was it this spring or was it last year when they came in and talked to us about the
Last year.
It was last year?
Right. Okay, Jane, I would entertain a motion to reconsider, to invite them to the January
So moved.
7th?
I'm making a
So
motion
moved.
to...
I will second it for discussion. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Joanna, is that possible?
I will email them and see if they're available for the 7th.
If not, the week after, whenever they can come back.
When's our
Go ahead.
hearing?
26th, I sure.
For the hearing?
Yeah.
It's right in front of you on the calendar there.
Well, that's not when they schedule it, though. I
Our
don't think.
public hearing is in January, but there is enough
Right.
time for them before we
Yes.
can do, you know.
Yes.
Well, we have all their financials,
Right.
but they broke down some figures in terms of the number of clients they service that,
And
Yeah.
clients they service.
yeah.
Okay?
May I make a suggestion that you appoint one person to ask the questions of the welfare director and get the answers back from her, where the numbers and where they stand, where Tilton stands as far as help from Genesis?
Good. And Jane or John, are you comfortable either one doing that?
I'm probably more available to
Yeah,
meet with her than you
sure.
are, so I would do that.
Pat, would you let her know that Jane will ask those questions and will then report back to the committee? Further business for the committee?
Oh, I'm taking yours.
That's okay, you can take it.
I got one.
Hearing none, chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Motion is not discussable. All those in favor? Aye. Good work tonight, folks. Not even 9 o'clock. You did well.